Victoria Hayes stood in the observation deck of Kepler-9 mining station, her coffee growing cold in her hands as she stared at the sensor readings displayed on the massive holographic screen. The numbers were impossible to ignore, even though every fiber of her being wanted to deny what she was seeing. 537 ships. An entire alien armada was moving through human space like a plague of locusts, destroying everything in its path. The mining station's communications array crackled with desperate messages from colonies throughout the sector. Victoria had been the colony administrator for Kepler-9 for 12 years, overseeing the extraction of rare Earth elements that helped power humanity's expansion into space. She had dealt with equipment failures, worker disputes, and supply shortages, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Her assistant, David Chen, rushed into the observation deck with a tablet in his hands. His face was pale with terror. "Administrator Hayes, we just lost contact with the Proxima research station. Their last transmission showed massive explosions before the signal cut out." Victoria nodded grimly. Proxima had been home to 15,000 researchers and their families. Now it was likely nothing more than debris floating in space. She turned back to the tactical display, watching as red icons marked the positions of the alien fleet. The Zephyrian Dominion had finally made their move against humanity. At Earth Defense Command, General Marcus Stone paced back and forth in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the advancing alien armada. His weathered face showed the strain of a career military officer who had always known this day would come. The Zephyrians were reptilian creatures from the Draco system, known throughout the galaxy for their ruthless efficiency in warfare. They had conquered dozens of star systems, and now they had set their sights on humanity's territory. "General," called out Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Kim from her position at the communications console, "we're receiving evacuation requests from 43 colonies in the Outer Rim. They're requesting immediate military escort for civilian transports." Stone stopped pacing and studied the tactical situation. Humanity's defense fleets were scattered across hundreds of light years, protecting trade routes and colonies. Against a concentrated force of over 500 enemy warships, they would be swept aside like leaves in a hurricane. "How many ships can we muster for defense?" Stone asked his tactical officer. Major James Wright consulted his displays before answering. "We have approximately 87 combat-ready vessels within range of the affected systems, sir. Most are patrol cruisers and escort frigates. We have only 12 heavy battleships available." The mathematics were brutal. Even if humanity's ships were superior in technology, which they weren't, the numerical disadvantage was overwhelming. Stone had spent 30 years in the military, rising through the ranks by making hard decisions, but this situation seemed hopeless. On the bridge of the Zephyrian flagship Dominion's Wrath, Supreme War Master Vex Thanor studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. His scaled hands gripped the armrests of his command throne as his yellow eyes followed the progress of his armada. The humans had spread themselves thin across their territory, exactly as his intelligence reports had predicted. "War Master," hissed his intelligence officer, Sub-Commander Krixtall, "our advanced scouts report minimal resistance. The human colonies are evacuating their populations, but their defense fleets are too small to offer significant opposition." Vex Thanor's forked tongue flicked out to taste the air, a sign of his contentment. "Excellent. These mammals have made the same mistake as all the other species we have conquered. They believed that spreading across many star systems would make them strong, but it has only made them vulnerable. The Zephyrian war doctrine was simple and effective. Concentrate overwhelming force against a scattered enemy, destroy their infrastructure, and force their surrender through sheer terror. It had worked against the crystalline beings of Epsilon, Eridani, the gaseous entities of Wolf 359, and the machine intelligences of Kepler 442. Now it would work against the humans. Back on Kepler-9, Victoria Hayes received another urgent message. This one was different from the others. It came through a heavily encrypted military channel that she didn't even know existed on her station. "Administrator Hayes," the message began. "This is General Stone at Earth Defense Command. I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Your station is equipped with systems that you don't know about. In exactly 6 hours, you will receive a coded transmission with the phrase, "The dawn breaks." When you hear those words, go to Maintenance Bay 7 and enter the code, Phoenix Protocol. Everything will become clear after that. Victoria stared at the message in confusion. Maintenance Bay 7 was used for storing mining equipment. She had been there countless times and had never seen anything unusual. But General Stone's message suggested that there were secrets hidden within her own station. Similar messages were being sent to colony administrators, mining supervisors, and civilian authorities throughout human space. People who thought they were running simple operations were about to discover that they had been unknowingly part of humanity's greatest military secret. Dr. Rebecca Torres worked frantically in her laboratory deep beneath the surface of Luna, Earth's moon. The underground facility was one of humanity's most classified research installations, hidden beneath layers of rock and shielded from all forms of detection. For 15 years, she had been leading a team of scientists and engineers in developing technology that would give humanity an edge against alien threats. "Doctor," called out her assistant Michael Park, "the quantum resonance field is stable. All weapon systems are showing green across the board." Rebecca nodded without looking up from her work. She was making final adjustments to the neural interface that would coordinate humanity's secret defense network. Every mining station, research facility, and seemingly civilian installation in human space was connected to this system. When activated, it would reveal the true extent of humanity's preparations. The Zephyrian Armada continued its relentless advance toward the inner systems of human space. Behind them lay a trail of destruction, empty colonies, destroyed space stations, and the wreckage of human vessels that had tried to slow their progress. But unbeknownst to War Master Vexithanor, his every move was being tracked and analyzed by hidden sensors throughout the region. On Earth, General Stone received constant updates about the alien advance. Each report was worse than the last. The enemy would reach the core systems within days, and humanity's conventional forces were simply not strong enough to stop them. But Stone knew something that the Zephyrians didn't. This invasion was exactly what humanity had been preparing for. As the alien armada closed in on humanity's heart, messages began flowing through hidden communication networks. Sleeper agents activated, concealed weapon systems came online, and ordinary civilians discovered that they had been living and working in the middle of the galaxy's most sophisticated military trap. Captain Ryan Blake gripped the armrests of his command chair as explosions rocked the bridge of the ESC Defiant. Through the main viewport, he could see the burning wreckage of 3 human destroyers that had tried to hold the line against the Zephyrian advance. His ship was one of only 15 vessels remaining from Earth's outer defense fleet, and they were fighting a losing battle against impossible odds. "Captain," shouted his tactical officer, Lieutenant Maria Santos, over the sound of alarms, "we've lost the cruiser Yamato. The Zephyrians are concentrating fire on our heavy units. We can't hold this position much longer." Blake watched as another human ship exploded in a brilliant flash of white light. The Zephyrian Armada stretched across space like a wall of death, their crimson hulls gleaming as they advanced steadily toward the inner systems. Each alien vessel was twice the size of comparable human ships, armed with plasma cannons that could punch through the strongest armor humanity could produce. War Master Vexithanor stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the destruction of human forces with cold satisfaction. His reptilian features showed no emotion as another human vessel was reduced to scrap metal. The mammals had fought bravely, he admitted to himself, but bravery meant nothing against superior firepower and numbers. "War Master," reported his tactical officer, "the human defense fleet is in full retreat. Our casualty reports show we have destroyed 43 enemy vessels, while losing only 7 of our own. The path to their core systems is now clear." Vexithanor nodded slowly. The humans had surprised him with their determination, but the outcome had never been in doubt. His armada had crushed the defenses of 23 human colonies in the past week, and now only Earth and a handful of major settlements stood between him and total victory. On Luna, Dr. Rebecca Torres received an urgent message from Earth Defense Command. The time for secrecy was over. She rushed to the main control room where dozens of technicians were working at quantum processors that hummed with barely contained energy. The hidden facility had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. "Doctor," called out her chief engineer, Dr. Alex Martin. "All primary systems are online. The quantum entanglement network is stable across all human territories. We're ready to implement Protocol 7. Rebecca took a deep breath. Protocol 7 was humanity's last resort, a plan so secret that only a handful of people knew of its existence. For decades, human colonists had been unknowingly building the components of the galaxy's most sophisticated defense network. Every mining station, research facility, and civilian outpost contained hidden systems that were about to be activated. Back on Kepler 9, Victoria Hayes stood in Maintenance Bay 7, staring at a wall panel that looked exactly like every other panel in the facility. The coded message had arrived exactly 6 hours after General Stone's warning, and now she entered the sequence Phoenix Protocol into what appeared to be a simple environmental control interface. The wall panel slid away, revealing a chamber filled with technology that definitely didn't belong on a mining station. Holographic displays showed tactical information about the surrounding star systems, while weapon controls indicated the presence of defense systems she had never known existed. A synthetic voice spoke from hidden speakers. "Administrator Hayes, welcome to Kepler 9 Defense Station. You are now the commanding officer of one of humanity's forward defensive positions. Please stand by for full system activation." Victoria watched in amazement as her humble mining station began to transform. Hidden armor plating slid into place over vulnerable sections, while concealed weapon turrets emerged from camouflaged positions. The facility's fusion reactor, which she had always thought was oversized for a simple mining operation, began channeling power to systems that had been dormant for years. Similar transformations were occurring throughout human space. On the agricultural world of New Eden, farmer Robert Chen watched as his automated harvesting machines unfolded into mobile missile platforms. On the research station at Wolf 359, scientist Dr. Jennifer Park discovered that her atmospheric processors were actually sophisticated sensor arrays, capable of tracking ships across multiple star systems. Captain Blake continued his fighting, retreat, unaware that his desperate last stand was buying time for humanity's secret preparations. His remaining ships were outnumbered 50-1, but they kept fighting, drawing the Zephyrian Armada deeper into what appeared to be humanity's final defensive line. "All ships," Blake transmitted to his scattered fleet, "maintain formation and keep them focused on us. Command says help is coming, but I don't see how anything can stop this armada." His words were intercepted by Zephyrian communications specialists, who translated them for War Master Vex Thanor. The alien commander listened with amusement as the human captain spoke of reinforcements that would never come. But beneath the surface of Luna, Dr. Torres was about to prove Captain Blake wrong. She stood before the master control console of humanity's most classified project, her hand hovering over the activation switch that would change the course of the war. "Doctor," announced her assistant, "we're receiving confirmation signals from defense stations throughout human space. 317 facilities are online and ready. The network is active and awaiting your command." Rebecca looked at the tactical display showing the Zephyrian Armada's position. The aliens had positioned themselves exactly where humanity's war planners had hoped they would be, concentrated in a narrow corridor between star systems, surrounded by what they believed were defenseless human colonies. "All stations," she announced into her communication system. "This is Luna Command. Execute Protocol 7. All hidden assets are now weapons-free. Repeat, all hidden assets are weapons-free." Across human space, the galaxy's greatest deception was about to be revealed. Mining stations that had operated for decades suddenly bristled with weapons. Research facilities activated defensive shields that could withstand direct hits from battleship-class weapons. Civilian cargo ships dropped their false hulls to reveal the advanced warships hidden beneath. War Master Vex Thanor was studying tactical displays when his sensors officer hissed in alarm. "War Master, I'm detecting massive energy readings from the human colonies we bypassed. Their power outputs are increasing by orders of magnitude. Before Vexthaner could respond, space around his armada erupted in weapons fire. The defenseless mining stations and research facilities opened fire with weapons more advanced than anything in the Zephyrian arsenal. Quantum torpedoes and plasma lances struck alien ships from directions they had never expected. On Kepler 9, Victoria Hayes found herself commanding a battle station that had been disguised as a simple mining facility. Her fingers moved across controls she was learning to use, directing defensive fire at Zephyrian ships that had thought they were attacking helpless civilians. The tide of battle was beginning to turn, but the full extent of humanity's deception had yet to be revealed. Commander Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of what appeared to be a simple cargo hauler as chaos erupted around the Zephyrian Armada. His ship, the ESC Silent Thunder, had been masquerading as a grain transport for 3 years, slowly moving through human space while secretly coordinating with other disguised vessels. Now, as Protocol 7 activated across the galaxy, it was time to drop the pretense. "All stations," Jake announced to his crew, "initiate combat transformation. Let's show these reptiles what we really are." The cargo ship's hull began to shift and reconfigure as hidden panels slid away to reveal weapon ports and sensor arrays. The vessel's true identity was exposed: a Phantom-class stealth destroyer, one of humanity's most advanced warships. Throughout the sector, dozens of similar transformations were taking place as humanity's ghost fleet revealed itself. War Master. Vexthaner stared at his tactical displays in growing alarm. What had been empty space moments ago was now filled with human warships. His sensors showed energy signatures unlike anything in Zephyrian databases, weapons that his technology couldn't even classify. The humans hadn't just hidden defensive stations. They had concealed an entire fleet. "Impossible," he hissed, his scaled hands trembling with rage. "Our intelligence reported that the humans had fewer than 100 warships in total. Where did these vessels come from?" His science officer, a nervous Zephyrian named Sektar, scrambled to analyze the new contacts. "War Master, I'm detecting over 200 additional human vessels that weren't there before. Their stealth technology is beyond our ability to penetrate." On the bridge of Kepler 9 Defense Station, Victoria Hayes was learning to coordinate her facility's weapon systems when something incredible happened. Ships began decloaking all around her position, sleek, human warships that had been hiding in the shadows of asteroids and debris fields. She wasn't just commanding a hidden fortress. She was part of humanity's greatest military deception. Captain Ryan Blake, who had been fighting his desperate retreat with the last remnants of Earth's outer fleet, suddenly found himself surrounded by reinforcements. His communications officer, Lieutenant Santos, looked up from her console with amazement. "Captain, I'm receiving identification signals from 47 human vessels. They're all broadcasting Earth Defense Command authorization codes, but I've never seen these ship designs before." Blake studied the tactical display as the mysterious reinforcements moved into attack formation. These weren't the patrol cruisers and escort frigates he was familiar with. These ships were larger, more angular, and bristling with weapons that seemed to bend space around them. One of the newcomers opened a communication channel. "Captain Blake, this is Admiral Patricia Chen, aboard the ESC Phantom Strike. Your orders are to fall back and let the real fleet handle this situation." Blake had never heard of Admiral Chen or the Phantom Strike, but he wasn't about to argue with reinforcements. As his battered ships withdrew, he watched in amazement as humanity's secret fleet engaged the Zephyrian Armada with weapons that defied physics. Commander Morrison's ship fired its first salvo at a Zephyrian heavy cruiser. The quantum disruptor cannon sent waves of energy that passed right through the alien vessel's shields as if they didn't exist. The Zephyrian ship simply stopped working. Its engines died, its weapons powered down, and its life support systems failed. The crew was alive but helpless, trapped aboard their own vessel. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as more human ships revealed their true nature. A mining barge transformed into an assault carrier, launching squadrons of fighters that moved faster than anything the Zephyrians had ever encountered. A scientific research vessel dropped its disguise to reveal itself as a Dreadnought-class battleship with enough firepower to level a moon. War Master Vexthanor realized that his armada had been lured into a trap that had been years in the making. Every human colony his forces had bypassed, every seemingly defenseless outpost they had ignored, was now revealing hidden weapons and defensive systems. The humans had turned their entire territory into one massive killing field. "All ships," he commanded, "break formation and retreat to minimum safe distance. We need to reassess this situation." Commander Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of what appeared to be a simple cargo hauler as chaos erupted around the Zephyrian Armada. His ship, the ESC Silent Thunder, had been masquerading as a grain transport for 3 years, slowly moving through human space while secretly coordinating with other disguised vessels. Now, as Protocol 7 activated across the galaxy, it was time to drop the pretense. "All stations," Jake announced to his crew, "initiate combat transformation. Let's show these reptiles what we really are." The cargo ship's hull began to shift and reconfigure as hidden panels slid away to reveal weapon ports and sensor arrays. The vessel's true identity was exposed. A Phantom-class stealth destroyer, one of humanity's most advanced warships. Throughout the sector, dozens of similar transformations were taking place as humanity's ghost fleet revealed itself. War Master Vexthanor stared at his tactical displays in growing alarm. What had been empty space moments ago was now filled with human warships. His sensors showed energy signatures unlike anything in Zephyrian databases, weapons that his technology couldn't even classify. The humans hadn't just hidden defensive stations, they had concealed an entire fleet. "Impossible," he hissed, his scaled hands trembling with rage. "Our intelligence reported that the humans had fewer than 100 warships in total. Where did these vessels come from?" His science officer, a nervous Zephyrian named Sektar, scrambled to analyze the new contacts. "War Master, I'm detecting over 200 additional human vessels that weren't there before. Their stealth technology is beyond our ability to penetrate." On the bridge of Kepler 9 Defense Station, Victoria Hayes was learning to coordinate her facility's weapon systems when something incredible happened. Ships began decloaking all around her position, sleek human warships that had been hiding in the shadows of asteroids and debris fields. She wasn't just commanding a hidden fortress. She was part of humanity's greatest military deception. Captain Ryan Blake, who had been fighting his desperate retreat with the last remnants of Earth's outer fleet, suddenly found himself surrounded by reinforcements. His communications officer, Lieutenant Santos, looked up from her console with amazement. "Captain, I'm receiving identification signals from 47 human vessels. They're all broadcasting Earth Defense Command authorization codes, but I've never seen these ship designs before." Blake studied the tactical display as the mysterious reinforcements moved into attack formation. These weren't the patrol cruisers and escort frigates he was familiar with. These ships were larger, more angular, and bristling with weapons that seemed to bend space around them. One of the newcomers opened a communication channel. "Captain Blake, this is Admiral Patricia Chen, aboard the ESC Phantom Strike. Your orders are to fall back and let the real fleet handle this situation." Blake had never heard of Admiral Chen or the Phantom Strike, but he wasn't about to argue with reinforcements. As his battered ships withdrew, he watched in amazement as humanity's secret fleet engaged the Zephyrian Armada with weapons that defied physics. Commander Morrison's ship fired its first salvo at a Zephyrian heavy cruiser. The quantum disruptor cannon sent waves of energy that passed right through the alien vessel's shields as if they didn't exist. The Zephyrian ship simply stopped working. Its engines died, its weapons powered down, and its life support systems failed. The crew was alive but helpless, trapped aboard their own vessel. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as more human ships revealed their true nature. A mining barge transformed into an assault carrier, launching squadrons of fighters that moved faster than anything the Zephyrians had ever encountered. A scientific research vessel dropped its disguise to reveal itself as a Dreadnought-class battleship with enough firepower to level a moon. War Master Vexthanor realized that his armada had been lured into a trap that had been years in the making. Every human colony his forces had bypassed, every seemingly defenseless outpost they had ignored, was now revealing hidden weapons and defensive systems. The humans had turned their entire territory into one massive killing field. "All ships," he commanded, "break formation and retreat to minimum safe distance. We need to reassess this situation." But as his ships tried to withdraw, they discovered another unpleasant surprise. The space around them was filled with invisible barriers, energy fields that prevented faster-than-light travel. The humans had deployed interdiction technology that trapped the entire Zephyrian Armada in normal space. On Luna, Dr. Rebecca Torres monitored the battle from her hidden command center. The quantum entanglement network was performing perfectly, allowing her to coordinate defensive actions across hundreds of light-years instantaneously. Every mining laser that had been secretly modified into a weapon, every cargo ship that was actually a disguised warship, every research station that doubled as a fortress, all of it was under her control. "Doctor," reported her tactical coordinator, "Major Lisa Park, Phase 1 is complete. We have successfully neutralized 43 Zephyrian vessels without destroying them. Their crews are alive but incapacitated. Phase 2 is ready to commence on your order." Rebecca studied the strategic display. The Zephyrian Armada was trapped, confused, and facing enemies they couldn't understand. But she knew that War Master Vex Thanor was a cunning opponent who would adapt quickly to changed circumstances. It was time to show him the full extent of humanity's preparations. "Commence Phase 2, she ordered. "Activate the reserve fleet." Throughout human space, massive structures that had been dismissed as space habitats and industrial platforms began to move. These weren't civilian installations. They were mobile fortress platforms, each one larger than a Zephyrian battleship and armed with weapons that could crack planets. They had been hiding in plain sight for decades, disguised as peaceful infrastructure projects. War Master Vex Thanor watched in horror as humanity's true military might was revealed. His armada of 537 ships, which had seemed so overwhelming just hours ago, was now outnumbered by human forces that appeared to have been conjured from empty space. "War Master," his communications officer reported with barely controlled panic, "I'm receiving a transmission from the human fleet. They're offering to negotiate our surrender." Vex Thanor's yellow eyes blazed with fury and fear. In his long military career, he had never been outmaneuvered so completely. The humans had allowed him to believe he was hunting prey, when in reality he had been walking into the jaws of the galaxy's most sophisticated predator. The tide had not just turned, it had become a tsunami that threatened to drown his entire armada in the depths of space. Captain Diana Cross adjusted her neural interface as her squadron of Wraith-class stealth fighters moved silently through the chaos of the battlefield. Her ships were invisible to Zephyrian sensors, appearing as nothing more than cosmic background radiation while they stalked their prey. Each fighter was equipped with experimental quantum torpedoes that could phase through solid matter before detonating inside enemy hulls. "Ghost Leader to all Wraith units," Diana transmitted through encrypted channels. "Target the Zephyrian command vessels. Make each shot count. We want them to know they're being hunted, but not by what." Her squadron split up, each pilot selecting a different target among the alien fleet. The Zephyrians were trying to regroup after the shock of humanity's revelation, but they couldn't defend against enemies they couldn't see. Diana lined up her crosshairs on a Zephyrian battlecruiser and fired a single torpedo. The quantum projectile passed through the alien ship's armor like it was made of paper, then materialized inside the vessel's reactor core. The explosion was contained within the ship's hull, causing massive internal damage while leaving the exterior seemingly untouched. To outside observers, the battlecruiser simply went dark, its crew unconscious from the concussive shock. War Master Vex Thanor felt his confidence crumbling as more of his ships were mysteriously disabled. His tactical officers couldn't explain how human weapons were penetrating their defenses, and his crews were beginning to panic. These mammals had technology that seemed to violate the laws of physics. "Science Officer Sektar," he demanded, "how are the humans disabling our vessels without leaving visible damage?" Sektar's nervous clicking filled the bridge as he studied sensor data that made no sense. "War Master, their weapons appear to be operating in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Our shields and armor exist only in normal space, but their attacks, are coming from directions that don't exist in our understanding of reality. On the bridge of the ESC Phantom Strike, Admiral Patricia Chen coordinated the systematic dismantling of the Zephyrian Armada. Her ship was the command vessel for humanity's most classified military project, a fleet that had been built in secret over the past 20 years. Every vessel in her task force incorporated technology that was decades ahead of anything known to alien civilizations. "Admiral," reported her tactical officer, Commander Robert Kim, "we've neutralized 67 Zephyrian vessels without a single fatality. Their crews are alive but incapacitated. The psychological impact on their remaining forces is significant." Chen nodded with satisfaction. The goal wasn't genocide but demonstration. Humanity wanted the galaxy to know that Earth's children were not helpless prey, but they also wanted to show that humans could choose mercy even from a position of overwhelming strength. Dr. Rebecca Torres watched the battle unfold from her command center on Luna, but her attention was focused on something else entirely. Deep space sensors were detecting new contacts approaching the battlefield, Zephyrian reinforcements that War Master Vex Thanner had called for before his communications were jammed. "Major Park," she called to her tactical coordinator. "I'm reading 12 additional Zephyrian dreadnoughts approaching from the Rigel system. They'll arrive in approximately 4 hours." Major Lisa Park studied the new contacts with concern. "Doctor, those are heavy assault vessels, each one larger than anything in the current Zephyrian fleet. If they arrive while we're still dealing with this armada, things could get complicated." Rebecca smiled grimly. "Then it's time to show War Master Vex Thanner exactly how outmatched he really is. Activate the orbital defense platforms around Earth, high above humanity's homeworld." Structures that had been disguised as space elevators and orbital habitats began to transform. Massive weapon systems unfolded from what appeared to be civilian infrastructure, revealing defensive platforms that dwarfed anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Each platform was equipped with planet-killer weapons that could sterilize entire worlds. War Master Vex Thanner received the transmission showing Earth's orbital defenses with growing despair. The humans hadn't just hidden a fleet, they had turned their entire home system into an impregnable fortress. Even if his reinforcements arrived, they would be walking into a slaughter. Commander Jake Morrison's ship, the Silent Thunder, had been systematically hunting Zephyrian vessels throughout the battle. His quantum disruptor cannons had disabled 8 enemy ships without killing a single alien crew member. But now, he received new orders that would escalate the psychological warfare to a new level. "Commander Morrison," came the transmission from Admiral Chen, "proceed to coordinates 847.3 by 221.7. You'll find a Zephyrian supply convoy that thinks it's safely hidden behind that asteroid field. Show them how wrong they are." Jake's ship phased through solid rock as if it were empty space, emerging inside the asteroid field where 3 Zephyrian cargo vessels were desperately trying to avoid detection. The aliens watched in terror as a human warship materialized out of solid stone, defying every law of physics they understood. "This is the ESC Silent Thunder," Jake transmitted to the cargo ships. "You have 30 seconds to surrender before we demonstrate our more destructive capabilities." The Zephyrian convoy surrendered immediately, their crews too terrified to contemplate resistance against enemies who could walk through walls. Back on the main battlefield, Captain Diana Cross continued her invisible hunt. Her squadron had disabled 15 Zephyrian vessels, and the alien fleet was beginning to fragment as individual ships tried to flee in random directions. But the interdiction fields prevented faster-than-light travel, and humanity's forces were everywhere. "Ghost Leader," came a transmission from one of her pilots, Lieutenant Marcus Webb. "I'm tracking a Zephyrian cruiser that's trying to ram one of our disguised mining stations. Should I stop them?" Diana checked her tactical display and saw the desperate alien vessel accelerating toward what appeared to be a defenseless civilian facility. "Negative, Ghost 4. Let them try. That mining station has a surprise waiting for them." The Zephyrian cruiser struck the mining station at full speed, expecting to destroy the human facility in a final act of defiance. Instead, the station's hidden deflector shields absorbed the impact harmlessly, while magnetic grapples locked onto the alien vessel and held it in place. The ramming attack had accomplished nothing except to trap another Zephyrian ship. War Master Vex Thanor realized that his situation was hopeless. His armada was being systematically neutralized by an enemy that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. His reinforcements were still hours away, and even when they arrived, they would face the same impossible odds. But he was a career military officer who had conquered star systems and destroyed civilizations. Even facing certain defeat, he would not surrender without extracting some price from his enemies. If the humans wanted to show mercy, he would test the limits of their compassion. All remaining vessels, he transmitted to his fleet. Implement Final Protocol Omega. If we cannot win this battle, we will ensure that the humans remember the cost of defeating the Zephyrian Dominion. Across the alien armada, surviving ships began charging their self-destruct systems, preparing to take as many human vessels with them as possible in a final explosive gesture of defiance. Admiral Thomas Kane materialized on the bridge of the ESC Eternal Vigilance as his personal transport ship, docked with humanity's most powerful vessel. For 20 years he had remained hidden in the shadows, coordinating humanity's secret preparations while allowing others to believe they commanded Earth's military forces. Now, as the Zephyrian Armada prepared for a final desperate gambit, it was time for humanity's true supreme commander to reveal himself. "Admiral on deck," announced Commander Sarah Martinez as Kane stepped onto the bridge of the massive dreadnought. The Eternal Vigilance was larger than most space stations, equipped with reality-altering weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas of space. Kane studied the tactical displays showing War Master Vex Thanor's remaining ships charging their self-destruct systems. The alien commander's Final Protocol Omega would turn each vessel into a massive bomb, hoping to inflict casualties on humanity's forces even in defeat. It was a predictable response from a species that valued death over dishonor. "Commander Martinez," Kane said calmly, "activate the temporal displacement field. Let's show our Zephyrian friends that even their final act of defiance is futile." The space around the Zephyrian Armada began to shimmer as exotic particles created pockets of accelerated time. The alien ships found their self-destruct sequences, frozen in temporal loops, unable to complete their final destructive act. Their weapons charged and recharged endlessly, trapped in moments that would never end. War Master Vex Thanor watched in horror as his ships became locked in temporal stasis. The humans had not only defeated his armada, they had denied him even the dignity of a warrior's death. His scaled hands trembled with rage and despair as he realized the true extent of humanity's technological superiority. "War Master," his science officer Sektar whispered, "they're controlling time itself. How is this possible?" Before Vex Thanor could respond, his main screen flickered to life, showing the face of Admiral Kane. The human commander appeared calm and professional, but there was steel in his gray eyes that spoke of decades spent preparing for this moment. "War Master Vex Thanor," Kane said in a voice that carried across every ship in the Zephyrian fleet, "I am Admiral Thomas Kane, Supreme Commander of the Terran Defense Force. Your armada is completely neutralized. Your reinforcements are being intercepted by our outer patrol groups, and your empire's expansion into human space is now permanently ended." Vex Thanor struggled to maintain his composure as he faced the human admiral. "You may have superior technology, mammal, but the Zephyrian Dominion will never surrender. Our empire spans 200 star systems and commands the loyalty of a dozen conquered species." Kane smiled grimly. "Your empire's expansion ends today, but I'm not interested in conquering your territory or enslaving your people. Humanity has different goals than the civilizations you're used to dealing with." On Luna, Dr. Rebecca Torres monitored communications from across the galaxy as news of the battle spread to other alien civilizations. The quantum entanglement network was intercepting transmissions from dozens of species, all reacting with shock to reports that the primitive humans had defeated the Zephyrian Dominion's most powerful fleet. "Doctor," reported her communications specialist, Lieutenant David Park, "we're receiving diplomatic inquiries from the Altarian Federation, the Centauri Trade Alliance, and at least 15 other major civilizations. They all want to know if The reports about our military capabilities are accurate. Rebecca nodded with satisfaction. This had always been part of the plan, to use the Zephyrian invasion as a demonstration to the entire galaxy that humanity was no longer prey. Every alien civilization that had dismissed Earth's children as harmless would now have to reconsider their assumptions. Admiral Kane continued his transmission to the Zephyrian fleet. War Master, I'm going to offer you something your species has never offered to others, a choice. You can order your remaining ships to stand down and return to Zephyrian space, or you can watch as we demonstrate weapons that make what you've seen today look like primitive tools. To emphasize his point, Kane gestured to his weapons officer. A single shot from the Eternal Vigilance struck an empty region of space, causing reality itself to tear open. Through the dimensional rift, the Zephyrians could see into the heart of a star, its nuclear fires visible through the hole in space-time.